It's nice to be out on the beach once again, and this time we got ourselves a nice sunset view. Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Mario here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we did manage to wrap things up with the forms of the Snow Kingdom by going through every single of those remaining of those power moons, as well as the forms of some of these regional coins that we've recently found. Now we'll have to be by the forms of the outside portion in some of those mini sections. So even then, we did manage to able to collect those no problem. So today for this episode is the fact that we're about to be continuing things on and going on to the next kingdom to able to 100% everything for this part. Well, I'm not going to do this in this particular part, but definitely in the next video we shall be able to actually completely done with everything in this kingdom. So even then though, speaking of the next kingdom is the fact that obviously the next kingdom, as you can see, we are about to be revisiting back to the forms of Seaside Kingdom. That way we can able to actually get ourselves not only a whole ton of those little power moons, as you can see, but also some of these remaining regional coins, which I will say, out of all the actual like kingdoms we actually been into, we didn't do that much in terms of this kingdom in general, because I think it's probably because we might actually come across into another toughest mission in the whole entire game actually. But we'll mention more on that whenever we're able to continue proceeding for this particular kingdom. So even then though, we'll get this thing to it, so even then though, let's just go ahead and just, you know, once again capture these particular enemies, as you can see. So that way we can able to traverse for the actual main obstacles and challenges and whatever. So even then though, everything else is very standard, so yeah, today's day is the forms of, I would say today's day is the 17th of August in 2019. So speaking of which, you know the game of New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Nintendo 3DS, specifically for the release date for the UK, which did originally came out on the 17th of August in 2012. Well, that game has now been out for 7 years since the forms of 2012, specifically in the UK countries. Well, it already did on during the likes of the 28th of July in 2012 in Japan. So at least even then, that's time really does fly, doesn't it, when it comes to the forms of some release dates and whatever. So either way though, I'm pursuing that New Super Mario Bros. 2 has now been, you know, incredibly, like, well, it's not so much a decade old just yet, though, until 2022, which is roughly the same year as the next Olympic Winter Games takes place in Beijing, in China, in 2022. So even then, though, and also same applies by the forms of, I would say the Super Mario Bros. Movie, specifically by the Illumination Studios, or something like that. Basically, they were able to actually hopefully make the actual Mario movie slightly, unique and better, rather than by the forms of that disturbing Sonic the Hedgehog movie, face. Although, still, until when it gets to the point until 2020, it would able to actually fix, Sonic's face up. Whilst everything else, though, I think if I remember correctly, it will most likely remain untouched, except for Sonic, because obviously they need to able to change, you know, Sonic's design a little bit. I'm hoping they're able to actually add in gloves for once, because that's what Sonic should have been. But either way though, I'm just getting a little bit more enthusiastic about this particular design still. But either way though, before we're able to actually do some more missions here and there, let's get into the forms of that particular water, you know, water bottle thing, and that way we'll bump into Peach herself. I love how this giant glass looks sparkling in the setting sun, or the setting sun. Is there anything may surround? Yes. It's hard to be able to actually just read some of the dialogue sometimes, but because of how the fact that, then again, I must admit though, I do apologize with the forms of, some commentary stuff here and there though, aside from able to announce some of these, new stuff they like to mention. And the next hint that Peach is trying to say to us is the fact that something is more accurately a nice meal, meaning that the next destination we're able to see Princess Peach will definitely have to be on Luncheon Kingdom, will be up next. So, actually, I just want to able to point things out right away. You know how the fact that I originally accidentally say about the fact that until about next Monday, about the fact that we might be able to actually continue uploading this, and during that time, it turns out I was gonna able to actually change my mind on that, because, well, there's going to be a brand new Let's Play about to be doing out at some point in the 19th of August, which might actually be slightly different to ourselves, especially noticeable because we haven't exactly, well, we did manage to be able to play that game before, twice, well, not the third time, because that was being released on the Game Boy Color in 2000, and also did manage to be able to beat the game twice for both the Super Nintendo version as well as the Game Boy Advance version, so you guys should know what I'm talking about for this point right there, but I'm not gonna spoil things yet, because you might as well find out until when it gets to the point until the 19th of August. So I've decided able to change the actual day schedules when it comes to uploading schedules for, you know, some continuation uploads for Super Mario Odyssey, and that will have to be by the forms of like, for this point in time, I'll able to actually, oh, stupid Cheep just keeps on getting my way. But anyways though, I think I should probably upload some more schedules of the actual Let's Play of Super Mario Odyssey, like, every Tuesdays and Thursdays at this point, because as for Super Mario Galaxy 2 though, that again, as far as what Duffy already mentioned about this since yesterday, he'll be back onto that game specifically until September, because, well, he'll be now moving on to the second half of Super Mario Galaxy 2. So even then though, that should be pretty exciting though, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, I would say he's pretty much at the halfway point of that particular Let's Play at this point, so even then though that, well, at least if all depending on the forms of how long the actual, some of these missions will actually go to, but even then though, that's precisely the point right there, so even then though, a few things I wanna, oh wow, I just got hit while I accidentally activate the actual map right here, so I guess we should able to actually warp onto, on top of the actual lighthouse before we do anything. So even then, we're able to actually start to be doing some of these more objectives or what have you. So even then, though, let's go ahead and use that Scarecrow to able to activate that particular timer challenge mission. So even then, though, hopefully we can able to actually get that next Power Moon around here. So even then, though, hopefully we can get the insane amount of those Power Moons compared to the forms of how it does it on the first time visiting on this particular kingdom. That's only because, as I said before, we haven't done that much in terms of this kingdom at first, because, well, at this point I just want to able to cut to the chase and then just jump straight onto my favorite kingdom, or my second favorite kingdom of all time, which will definitely have to be by the forms of the, you know, the Luncheon Kingdom, as far as I'm mostly concerned of. So, but hopefully though, by the time that this particular Let's Play, as far as you all already know, we can able to do more stuff in this kingdom this time around. So either way though, with Power Moons and everything, including the forms of these regional coins here and there as well. So either way though, let's just get into the actual announcements and all that stuff. So even then though, as I mentioned to you before about the fact that today's day is the 17th of August in 2019 still, and we've only got about a month left, and especially noticeable how the fact that, I'll get into the actual newest day's point of view. We've only got about 3 more days to go until the Gamescom 2019 gameplay footages will be shown, and next thing you know is the fact that, well, obviously they're going to show off some upcoming footages based off on the upcoming games until 2019, specifically towards the very end of 2019 this year. However though, there are going to be some exceptions, which is basically just, you know, Animal Crossing New Horizons, because that will be on 2020 game as a result, and it was about to due out during that spring, or in this case by the forms of March the 20th, I believe. Well, not so much by the forms of that specific, it's hard to be able to actually explain for that specific count, but either way though, let's just go ahead and grab these little musical notes and what have you. So, but yeah, it's generally by the forms of, the 20th of March in 2020, which is roughly the exact same day as the forms of I was expecting to be the actual 5-year anniversary of the Mario Party 10's release. For specifically for you know, that Mario Party 10 did already came out in 2015 in, you know, the 20th of March, or in this case in Japan, it just released it on 12th of March, and roughly the same year. So either way though, enough about that specific topic. The next thing I just want to point things out at this point is the fact that, well, recently North America, and I believe Japan as well, although I may be wrong, they did recently release the forms of the next console mini release just recently, and that was of course the Sega Genesis Mini / Mega Drive Mini for those who lived in Japan and Europe. So even then though, as far as what I've seen the actual gameplay footage about that particular classic Mini, I was originally trying to able to not get it just because of how the fact that, well, we've already got the actual Mega Drive to begin with. But it turns out I was gonna change my mind this time around because, well, I figure I might as well able to try to get that at some point. Well, until eventually when it gets to the point until, like, you know, specifically the 4th of October, that the UK version of the Mega Drive Mini will become able to actually install. So even then, I'm very looking forward to able to actually trying out the Mega Drive Mini, even though, unfortunately, though, I need to able to actually just take out my NES Classic Mini or the Super Nintendo Mini. But honestly, I think I should probably take out my NES Mini because I don't normally play that particular console as much compared to the forms of how it does it on that the Super Nintendo Mini, just because of, for one thing, is because, you know that controller cord lead that, normally on the NES Classic Mini, the actual length of the actual, controller cord was actually way too small, or short, if you will, whilst the forms of the Super Nintendo Mini did manage to improve upon that by specifically making it longer. But either way, though, that's just a little bit of an off-sensical for this point right here, so even then, that's to be expected, so... Anyways, though, in this mission right here, as you can see on screen, I'm actually going to be able to actually use the actual woodpecker enemy ever since in Bowser's Kingdom. And if you ever think about it, we need to able to reflect the bomb right onto that specific, you know, rocks to able to break from. Or in this case, for this matter, though, hard blocks, as far as I can say. Now, because as you can see right there, we've already got ourselves our next power moon, because we need to do a slightly bit of a timing syndrome, because if you're trying to able to let the actual Bowser bomb curves onto the actual curve right here, that way if you adjust it well enough, then you should able to make the actual bomb explode right in front of that particular hard rock to begin with. And then that way you can able to get yourselves the next power moon. And that can be similar place for that particular normal mission as well, but the biggest difference is there is the fact that you have to break a certain amount of blocks until you're able to actually bust out the cage open. So, yeah, it's very simple stuff though, really. So even then though, as far as the actual what I've seen, the, well, obviously, I'm actually going to be able to get this at some point in the future though. Well, if already depending on the forms of the stocking department, because I remember back in 2016, the NES Classic Mini has been sold really fast, and especially noticeable with the Super Nintendo Mini as well, which thankfully in 2017 I believe, or especially noticeable in 2018, they did manage to able to do some of the restocking departments for, you know, the NES Classic Mini, and in that way you can able to actually guarantee you can now finally get it as a cheaper price, instead of that the most disgustingly expensive original you know, the original stocking for that part back in 2016. I mean, that is very observation right there, especially noticeable how the fact that that particular console mini already been stocked out for like tremendously. Although, to be fair, unlike the ones how it does in the actual PlayStation Classic though, it doesn't seem that much in terms of like the actual stock is running out, just because, well, I think it's pretty obvious, because the game library wasn't exactly all that great, because they obviously do not include the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, or even the Spyro of the Dragon trilogy, if you will, and especially noticeable with the Klonoa Daughter Phantomile. Well, the only good game I was going to be able to think of, and that was the original Rayman, despite that game was tremendously difficult. But apart from those side of things, well, usually for Metal Gear Solid and stuff, I think that game might be okay-ish, but I haven't really played that game though yet, because, well, I've definitely heard about the Metal Gear Solid series before, but for me, I haven't really played that much of it though, because, well, I didn't have any single Metal Gear Solid games. I'm able to actually try them all though, just to give them a go. So even then, because the only reason why I'm familiar with the series is because of Super Smash Bros. Brawl's introduction to Solid Snake as a fighter, as well as the most recent game of the Super Smash Bros. Series, which is, of course, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So, but you know, you get the, yeah, it's just that, well, I might be biased, I suppose. So anyway though, aside from that though, a few things I want to explain when it comes to the forms of Nintendo Switch owners is the fact that Shantae 5 is actually getting itself this final name. of the actual game. Even though, I don't know about the release date though yet, but it turns out it did finally got itself its final name of that particular title. And that title will actually be Shantae and the Seven Serums, which seems to kind of look like some sort of like a... Why is it always like a 7 number is always the main thing? I mean, obviously we got Legend of the 7 Stars from Super Mario RPG, as well as the 7 Star Spirits from Paper Mario, 7 Crystal Stars in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, 7 Chaos Emeralds in every single Sonic the Hedgehog games, as well as the forms of, you know, specifically for 7 Dragon Balls from the Dragon Ball series. And what else is on there? The 7 Sages or something like that from the likes of the Zelda series or something. But then again, I haven't really played that much of Zelda much recently, apart from the fact that I'm still coming back onto, you know, Ocarina of Time for the original N64. So that way, if I managed able to done that game completely on my own time, then maybe we can do a Let's Play on that, during at some point in the future, if only if we're able to actually accomplish some other Let's Plays. Like, specifically, although we were originally trying to able to go through Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link though, but let me tell you, it is ball-bustingly difficult, I will tell you that right now. So I probably won't able to tackle for that game anytime soon. But either way though, for now on though, we're most likely gonna have to focus on the next Zelda Let's Play until at some point in next month or so. That will have to be, of course, The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past. So once we're done with that, well, thanks to the forms of the remake of, you know, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, I think we should probably tackle for that game after A Link to the Past, because obviously that game sort of takes place immediately after the events of A Link to the Past and stuff like that, which thankfully though I can able to actually capture footage due to the actual Nintendo Switch remake. So even then I don't need to able to worry about the original Game Boy Color version or something, because, well, the actual item inventory system can be the tremendous example about that, because thankfully on the Switch remake, they did manage to able to fix something like the item inventory system, so even then though, that's as far as I can usually describe it from. Now after we're done with Link's Awakening, specifically the remake, most likely, for the capture footage and stuff, then we should able to jump into The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, most notably the original game, because, well, again, with the 3DS version, I was gonna able to do the 3DS version, just make the actual game a lot faster than in forms of how it does in that sluggish, 50Hz version of that specific, well, most other Nintendo 64 games, most notably in the PAL regions, does seem to able to feel pretty lacking when it comes to, like, in Hertz, or in this case, by the forms of how the game runs. Like, normally in 60Hz mode, it runs very, very well, mostly, but also the forms of the PAL regions, they always attempt to get some slowdowns every now and then, which, that might be seems a little bit more insufficient, mind you. Oh, we got ourselves a secrecy right here, which appears to be, of course, a treasure chest on that specific hidden area. So even then, though, that, sometimes it's really hard to able to actually just, it's pretty easy to miss, though, if you imagine, not paying attention to that whatsoever. So I was one pointing it out right away, so... Anyways, though, and that's that, and then after we're able to complete done with Ocarina of Time, then we can easily jump into, you know, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which that will be the next thing. So even then though, and after that, well, I don't know exactly that much else, to be honest with you guys, apart from the DS handheld games, which is specifically Phantom Hourglass as well as Spirit Tracks, but I really can't guarantee I can able to replay those 2 games again, honestly, because of, the infamous fishing controls in Phantom Hourglass, as well as the forms of some stingy times with bunny catching in Spirit Tracks and all that stuff, and that's as far as I can really must confess about this point in time, folks, especially with, you know, specific stuff like that happens. So even then, we'll go down here, and oh crap, looks like my air meter's drowning. No. Although I could able to actually just try to able to capture Cheep and do it there, but unfortunately though, I was a little bit too late for that part, so whoops. So anyways though, yeah, I was very excited to able to see of how the fact that with Shantae 5 is gonna able to handle, or in this case for instance now, it just calls it like, you know, Shantae and the 7 Serens right for this point. And before I've double checked on the actual gameplay footage or some of these screenshots or something, while from what I've noticed is the fact that, well, obviously it's going to due out on the, you know, aside from Nintendo Switch, it's also about to be releasing on the PC as well as the Apple Arcade for some reason, and also by the forms of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And for what I've seen so far, when it comes to the first 6 screenshots, as far as I can see for that particular image right there, even though sometimes my phone's loading times can take absolute forever to load things up sometimes. It might seem not by much, but to me, the actual visuals of Shantae and the 7 Serums might look very identical to the forms of how it does it in Shantae, the Half Genie Hero, for during the likes of in 2016. Although, speaking of that game, I would able to actually get myself the Ultimate Edition of that game, because I don't know, something about the original 2016 release might be seems a little bit more lacking in content-wise. But either way, though, thanks to the Ultimate Edition, then, you know, you probably get the idea for that specific point. So, but hey, at least on the upside, though, yeah, the graphics in the forms of Shantae and the 7 Serums might actually look identical to the forms of how it does in Half Genie Hero, but the major differences I've noticed so far, while it's not the actual final version of the game yet, because there might be still some more developing time, but normally it just has like a, you remember in the forms of Half Genie Hero, where basically it has like a 2.5 perspective? Well, I don't see the case for this time around though, because, well, again, it's just a little bit of a first impressions, I should say, sorry, because even then though, because, well, you know, unfortunately though, that particular game doesn't have a release window yet, because even then though, I was pretty excited able to see how this will turn out, but either way though, let's just go ahead and deal with, the Koopa free running event right here, like, we have to do this twice to able to get both of those power moons at the same time. So naturally, that's all I'm gonna do for this point, so, nothing too special, nothing too surprising there, but even then, we'll just have to, like, keep using this forks every time we get to the very end. I'm almost gonna get screwed over at the very end, though, because if I do accidentally fall off on that specific point, then I have to go through all that stuff again. So even then, though, that's, you know, you probably get the idea. So even then, let's get ourselves on next Power Moon, which is specifically for the Master Cup. And, I think that pretty much takes care of it from here. And hopefully we're able to come across into it more until the Luncheon Kingdom, as well as the forms of the Bowser's Kingdom, and eventually by the forms of the Moon Kingdom, and the final ones will have to be on Mushroom Kingdom. So even then, that's how the actual thing itself rules, basically. So, yeah, another thing is one point out right away is the fact that, well, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure how do I explain this sometimes, though. Well, apart from the fact that, well, recently about the fact that there's also another new game is about to be joined out on the Nintendo Switch, and that will have to be by the forms of a team-based sports platform fighter game. That is, of course, Kung Fu Kickball, which is kind of a weird name per se, but even then it's about to due out until the first quarter, specifically either January or February or March, I believe, from in 2020. So even then, though, that's I have no idea why I'd really say that, because, well, most of the time, though, I just don't know what else do I really say about it. And also, there's another game is about to due out on the Nintendo Switch at some point in the future, though, to be more exactly later than never, because, well, the game usually calls it Curse of the Sea Rats, and is about to due out on the Switch until... oh, this is going to be interesting. It's about to due out until 2021. Jeez, that can really take a long time to able to release that, so even then, because, well, I just don't know what else to think of. And another thing I want to say about this here, while we're trying to able to deliver that seed back into that specific plant, or that particular pot even, recently there was actually another brand new game about to due out on the Nintendo Switch, and that was, of course, the actual new returning Cookie Mama series, which, well, I've usually heard about the series, but I think the last time I actually played the Cookie Mama game was actually on the second game on the Nintendo Wii. And I remember someone enjoyed it, but nothing spectacular for my part, because, well, for one thing, I don't normally purchase more of those cooking-based games on during the likes of in video games department. I prefer cooking in reality, just for make it a little bit fun. But when it comes to video games, though, it was a pretty decent time all in all, but it's just that sometimes with timing accuracy and some stuff like that. Sometimes I always get some mistakes like that, but even then though, I think the first time I've ever experienced Cookie Mama was actually on the Nintendo DS, so even then, that's the only time I'm actually remembered. Especially noticeable with that specific, oh jeez, I remember back in 2011, actually, where for some reason I've managed to able to download a demo version of Cookie Mama 4 or 5 for the 3DS. I'm not exactly sure, because I know it's been about you know, flipping donkey's years from specifically from, I would say in 2011 when I first downloaded that, and I just got, like, incredibly bored of it though for that specific demo, so that's why I just not able to actually pick that up. So yeah, anyway, back into what I was saying about the forms of the new Cookie Mama game is about to join out on the Nintendo Switch, which is usually calls it Cookie Mama Cookstar. They actually add in some more details about specifically the actual, gameplay, as well as the forms of, just like in Shantae 5, or in this case Shantae and the 7 Serums, it goes themselves by the forms of the first screenshots. So even then, it's a pretty nice little things, I suppose, for that specific point right there, but much like it forms of how it does in Shantae and the 7 Serums, which it doesn't have the release date yet. So even then, that's as far as I can most likely guess about this at this point, but either way though, I really don't know if I'm actually able to actually get that game though, honestly though, apart from the fact that you can able to take it on the go, ever since on the 3DS installments, and even the actual Nintendo DS installments, but for me, it's not my kind of thing, honestly. So either way though, yeah, I think I've already mentioned about the forms of how it does. You remember the forms of in Part 30 of specifically in the Let's Play of Super Mario Odyssey. I almost keep on saying Super Mario Party for some reason, because that game's Let's Play is already finished. Even almost ever since during the likes of about a month ago. Well, almost a month ago for this point now. But either way though, you remember I said this before about the fact that we recently got ourselves 3 new fighters and all that stuff, like specifically for Lucario, Ryu, and especially with Waluigi. My next main concern about this specific point for version 1.2, beta version for Super Smash Bros. 2, where's the release date from? Because, well, I keep on just trying to get into Super Smash Bros. 2. I know I'm just a little bit impatient and all that stuff when it comes to situations like that, but I keep on waiting and waiting and waiting before version 1.2 beta updates will fully be updated, but still for some reason I just pretty much still stuck on the forms of version 1.1.0 still, which, let me tell you about the bat though, well, I don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the game as a result though. I would say it's a little bit more balanced compared to the forms of how it does it on the original game, although I did have some fun on Super Smash Bros. 1, all over again though, especially noticeable for my first time experiencing that since about 2007, after whenever I managed to play through Super Smash Bros. Melee a lot. Well, the only exception is the N64 installment, because, well, it wasn't until in 2008 when I finally got my hands on Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64, as the original cartridge version of the game, so it wasn't until properly that in 2009 that the Nintendo Wii version, or in this case the Wii's Virtual Console version, they at least managed able to finally get their hands on Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64 at long last. Although unfortunately at this point in time folks, especially noticeable until, like, you know, as you probably guys already know, until at least ever since you, you know, already noticed at this point, is that obviously with the Wii Shop channels now being closed, there is no way we can able to play Super Smash Bros. 64 or even download the actual game again. I think the best option, or the only option for this point now, is getting the physical version. So because of this though, I felt incredibly bad for that game not to be released on the actual Wii U Virtual Console, because for the love of God, why did they even not be released that on the Wii U's Virtual Console version at all? I mean, sure, because the Wii U sales is going super poorly and everything, but either way though, I just get a little bit more of an upsetting part, because, well, you know, I just felt incredibly bad for some people who haven't experienced Super Smash Bros. 64, at least ever since back in during the likes of in, well, at least, the only option, as I said before, is to get the original cartridge for this point now, because, well, you know, at least in even Nintendo, at least unlike in other games like specifically Paper Mario and stuff, you can get this now on the Wii U eShop version now on the actual you know, Wii U system as of at this point in time, and especially noticeable for the most obvious one, Super Mario 64, as well as the forms of Mario Kart 64, as well as Mario Party 2, and even especially noticeable with Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, and all that stuff. And I would say also is maybe Pokemon Snap. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't really looked upon too much specific details. Oh yeah, and also Star Fox 64, aka Liar Wars, if you those of you like lived in the forms of the UK version. So even then, no. And what else is on there for the actual Wii U eShop downloads? There was Wave Race 64, as well as Yoshi's Story, and also Mario Golf, and I believe Mario Tennis as well. But there was one game in particular that's been missing out on, specifically on the Nintendo Wii U eShop download as well. And that is, of course, oh yeah, Pokemon Puzzle League. I sort of felt incredibly bad for that game because, well, since I haven't played that for freaking donkey's years and all that stuff, and I felt incredibly bad for Wii U owners. They don't even experience Pokemon Puzzle League and stuff like that for the original Nintendo 64. Although, thanks to the forms of the 3DS eShop, you can at least experience Pokemon Puzzle Challenge for the Game Boy Color at least. So at least even then, now that might be the good option for you if you can able to actually play that on the go. So even then, now that's besides the point. Another thing I want to point things out right away is the fact that, well, it's hard to explain about this specific situation sometimes, is the fact that I've heard several rumors about the forms of Nintendo itself were able to actually announce there's going to be another set of those wireless controllers is about to be joined out, but something very familiar of that particular shape, which I did manage to research on my own time. In fact, I just recently researched on my phone recently. That particular control model was actually based off on the Super Nintendo controller / Super Famicom controller for those who lived in Japan. And I was like, could this be true if the Super Nintendo games is about to be joined out for online services and all that stuff? That would be my possibilities, especially noticeable with the, you know, Nintendo Direct will be slowly approaching at some point in September, as I said this countless amount of times, but then again, once the forms of the Nintendo Direct announcements will be up, then I should probably get back into this, or definitely will might as well come back into Super Mario Galaxy 2. So, well, to be more specifically though, for the Green Stars run, specifically in September. So, although it will happen during the likes of well, it's hard to explain about this actually, because there's going to be quite a few Let's Plays we're about to be doing, you know, going to be doing at some point at the very end of this year though, but even then, we need to get these Let's Plays finished, before we move on to the next set of Let's Plays, so, yeah, it's pretty obvious for that point right there, so, anyway, oh yeah, very similar to the forms of how it does in the Sand Kingdom, as you can see right there, basically, if you get the answer correct, then this will be able to actually lead you to, what else? Another Power Moon, which actually leads us to the actual underwater vault. So at least even then, you can able to get your Power Moon from here, though. But, much like the forms of how it does in Sand Kingdom, well, basically, we need to talk to this little Spanx again, and this time we need to answer 4 of those questions. And then that way, if you manage to answer all 4 of them correct, then much like always, you get yourself a Power Moon in the process. So even then, that way you could able to actually guarantee by that attack. That's the only thing that Cheeps can only do. So even then, it's not too bad though, honestly, if you manage to able to get the actual things itself right. So yeah, the resort outfit is the only option for that specific, you know, if that padlock door thing is usually at the outside portion. And looks like you, once again, I'll ask questions, because, well, it's pretty obvious. It's like a quiz trivia thing, so even then, very standard stuff though, really, if you manage to know what you're doing, but if you manage to, as I said before, answer all 4 of those questions, then you would able to actually guarantee to get yourselves a glorious Power Moon. And it looks like we managed to get ourselves 33 Power Moons so far, which is actually pretty good in theory. Most notably because, well, as I said this before, we didn't do that much to begin with in Seaside Kingdom, but thanks to the forms of the second revisit of this kingdom, until now anyway though, basically we can now do some more things, specifically for, you know, if you manage to know where the power moons are, as well as the forms of some regional coins to be found. So even then, let's just go in and purchase, I would say we might be able to purchase the actual next outfit, such as like the sailor and stuff. Well, to be more specifically, the suit, as well as the forms of the actual hat itself. And then, you know with one of those, Toadette tasks in the forms of in, Mushroom Kingdom itself? Well, I could assure to you because we need to keep on doing that a lot. And in fact, I think we're getting a little bit more, well, it's not so boring after a while, but it's just that I think I should probably take a break on, specifically the resort outfit and change it to a different outfit. So, even then, we are now a sailor, Mario. So even then, if we wish, we can able to utilize the boat. But either way, though, that's not the actual main problem with this, though, because traversing on this, especially noticeable if you have this enemy with you to able to capture with, it shouldn't take too long, though, especially noticeable because if you really want to, like, traverse for the actual kingdom itself, and it looks like we've only got about 15 of those, regional coins left now until the actual kingdom itself will be able to be concluded. So even then, hopefully everything else doesn't drag on for about a few moments notice. So even then, whoa! Jesus Christ, I almost gonna get hurt by that particular object. Oh jeez, almost felt bad for myself if I managed to almost got hit by that specific hazard right here. So even then, that's the only okay part about it, but even then, let's just see what's beyond around here. So, let's just go from here, because I realized we accidentally missed that since the very beginning. So, even then, I would have appreciated if I was going to able to find that in the first place. But, unfortunately, though, because I was busy too much focused when it comes to, like, specific other things and stuff. So, even then, that's entirely my fault for that in theory, though. So, I must admit that I do apologize for that. So, yeah, and another thing I want to point out right away is the fact that, well, I think definitely sort of mentioned about that, or even me managed able to mention about this specific stuff, about the fact that with Crash Team Racing, Nitro Fuels now got himself the microtransactions for this point now, which I will say, I'm actually not happy about that for this point, whenever that happens, because, do you remember the forms of in day one release for that particular game so far now? They must have really enjoyed it, especially noticeable they played online features and stuff. It doesn't matter which platforms you're able to actually play on, either the Nintendo Switch or the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One or the PC Steam version, if you will. And as a result, though, that every now and then, especially noticeable when it gets to the point until a couple of weeks' time, especially noticeable that with the back in time events is now happening on the forms of the Crash Team Racing or CTR TV thing going on right there for online events and stuff. Like grabbing more of those little nitro fuel gauge and stuff like that. And I think that's what most people seem to able to be complaining about the microtransactions, because they already done that for Call of Duty games as well as the forms of the FIFA games and even the most recent Star Wars game ever since in 2017, which is of course Star Wars Battlefront 2. But even then, because I'm hoping that the Jedi Order 4 will not even feature the actual microtransactions, because, well, microtransactions I don't mind in some other games, most notably with My Little Pony Game Loft game, although despite the fact that it was actually more accurately a girls game of any sorts, but still I'm a brony. But even then, no, that's besides the point. And oh yeah, speaking of such, actually, it's the fact that today is the release of the forms of episode 16 of the forms of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 9 in episode 16, which is usually calls it a Trivial Pursuit. And I haven't seen the episode yet, though, but I'm actually going to be able to watch that during tonight. So even then, though, because of this, though, I'm actually really... Why do I just do that? Oh, I've managed to able to off my angle right there. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why do I even begin with that? Yeah, because if you couldn't tell for this point, folks, I was going to able to pull off some shortcuts so that I don't able to actually bother to able to actually use the actual warp picture to able to actually warp from there. But unfortunately, though, because I don't think I wasn't exactly high enough to able to actually reach for that specific point for that power moon right there. So, yeah, that's kind of a misleading right there. So either way, though, we'll leave with that. So either way, though, because the reason why I haven't really watched that much of MLP these days is because, well, I still enjoy the show back in the day, but as soon as because when the show actually officially ended until at some point, I get a strong feeling about the fact that the final portion will be released until usually on the October month. And let me tell you, I'm gonna cry. I'm really gonna cry until when that show is about to end. Which, even then, I had some really great times about that specific show at first. But, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, surprisingly enough, well, from now on anyway, though, we didn't seem to have that much Mario Party announcements on the forms of, 2019 this year so far, because it already did, last year in 2018 in the E3 event, especially noticeable with the 2017's, the Top 100 due to the out-of-nowhere Nintendo Direct in September, and, as well as the forms of Star Rush in 2016 from in E3, I believe, and also Mario Party 10 in 2015, Island Tour from out of nowhere ever since in the forms of April's Nintendo Direct for the Year of Luigi special from that specific year, and Mario Party 9 from E3 2011, well, despite that game is now being released in 2012, which, you know, that game has been out for about 7 years now, which still really, the time really does fly, doesn't it? So anyways though, before we do anything though, oh, I just lost my bit of health though, so, tell you what though, I'm coming back for that until at some point in the next part though, because, well, as I mentioned to you before, I was able to actually wrap things up with this particular kingdom, completely. Oh, I just realized there's Captain Toad right here. But we do need that specific enemy to able to actually get up there. In fact, how do we do that? Although, because of this though, we need to figure out the actual depth of it. Especially noticeable how the fact that if you really want to get a huge emphasis on this enemy here, even though we haven't gone too bad though, especially noticeable with the actual Power Moons grinding, as you can see, because as you can see on the top left corner, I think we did manage to collect about, like, let's just say 34 so far. Which is actually not that bad in theory though, I gotta say that much. And it looks like I get a strong feeling we're probably not gonna make it for this point. Oh, can I even? Oh, shoot. Looks like I can't jump higher enough with this guy. Oh, jeez. I felt so embarrassed for myself. In fact, let me just, go ahead and just speed things up a notch by, you know, obtaining that rocket flower. And, you know, just get bumps in the process. And, yeah, let's just grab some more health. And I assume to realize there's some more regional coins from here. So even then, I don't suppose I've actually ignored that by accident. At least ever since during the forms of the first time we've ever experienced this. But even then, that's how you normally get to that though, from the likes of how it does it on that. You know what, any kind of missions you go through from the beginnings portion of, you know, the Seaside Kingdom and stuff. So, even then, we'll try this one again to able to reach higher enough. And son of a biscuit, I always get hit by these guys super easily. In fact, because of how the fact that with the actual water spraying ability that he always do, sometimes I always tend to get hit by these guys sometimes. Even when they, despite they actually just manage to able to spray right, you know, right in front of you out of nowhere. Like, even potential purpose. Excuse me, I just, I don't know, suppose if you noticed it by this point, but, recently I almost felt a little bit thrown up, or especially noticeable for feeling sick. Oh, no, 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 no! Oh, I just run out of water again to able to actually get up there. Oh, jeez. I felt pretty dumb at this point. But either way, though, let's not give up yet, because there's still a chance. In fact, recently that enemy just respawned. So even then, hopefully we can try that again. And, hopefully, though, whenever... I think I should probably do one more Power Moon for now on for this video. But as for the rest, though, I should probably save up until tomorrow. Because, well, thankfully, though, well, there wasn't any going to be, you know, Super Mario Party uploads for now. Because, well, we are essentially done with that Let's Play from ever since, you know, almost a month ago at this point, as I said before. So anyways, though, let's reach up there. And I deserve that from getting burnt by that little campfire or anything. And we meet up with Captain Toad. I wanted to get a nice view of the sea, so I climbed and get all the way up here. And you made it too. So here, take this Power Moon I found. I think this might actually be the final Captain Toad mission. Well, not until later on though, but I'm not going to spoil things up yet. So even then I will save that and during the later portion this throughout. And I think we're pretty much done for this point, folks, especially noticeable with how much Power Moons we actually did manage to gather. So let's just go ahead and deliver it onto the actual Odyssey, and let's see how much power moons we got altogether. So now we reach up to 682. So even then though, we almost there to 700. So even then though, I guess we'll end things off here. So join me next time with Let's Play Super Mario Odyssey. It's the fact that we're about to be hopefully finishing up with the forms of Seaside Kingdom to grab the final few power moons, as well as the forms of, what else? Some final few regional coins. So, it won't be took that long though, but even then, we'll find things out during tomorrow, as I said before. So anyway, see you guys next time for that. Later, fellas.